you have an issue for the 240 Pulpus order?
No, well, yeah, but
Might only have three
we
people.
can talk about that.
Okay.
And we have
Yeah.
some issues later that we'll deal with, but
All right.
okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Seth Engelborg, Chair of the Nantucket Conservation Commission. We're meeting today, Thursday, July 2nd at 5 p.m. in a hybrid fashion with some people physically present in the Nantucket Public Safety Facility room at Fairgrounds Road and others on Zoom. We need to establish a quorum of members. Members, when you hear your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mike Mizzarelli.
Here.
Joe Plandowski.
Here.
Tim Brain.
Here.
Seth Engelborg is here. We'll go through the continuances on tonight's agenda, of which we only have two. Under public hearing, Section B, notice of intent waiver required. Town of Nantucket, Pulpus Harbor and Hither Creek dredging plan, SC 483973, continued till July 16th. And in our other business, in the public meeting, enforcement actions, Baxter Road geotubes continued till July 16th. Commissioners, with those continuances being read, is there a motion to accept the agenda?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you both. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? Seeing not, that carries unanimously. Announcements. Today's Nantucket Conservation Commission meeting is being audio and video recorded. Please do not record with your own devices without our consent. If you plan to use your cell phone for calls and or text, please do it outside. Anything you do with any device will be considered part of the open meeting law record if done in this room. Update on public comment questions from prior meeting. We have none. Public comment. This is for items not on today's agenda. If you have a public comment and you're physically present in the room, you can approach one of these microphones. If you're on Zoom, raise your hand virtually. We'll be holding to the select board's established procedures for public comment, limiting comments to 3 minutes or less and not engaging in deliberation, simply taking comments for future action if warranted. At this time, does anyone have a public comment for items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to the public hearing. We'll start with our notices of intent. We don't have any for no waiver required. So we'll begin with Section B, notice of intent, waiver required. The first is Robert F. Greenhill Revocable Trust, 16 Horks Hollow Road, SC 483917, represented by Art Gasparo. Art, good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just checking on the board and it's hard to tell. So do you have any members online or this is our complete?
This is all of the membership.
Mr. Murphy, you want to proceed? Excuse us for just 1 second. I know
That's
it continued a while. I just want to make sure.
If you want to have a meeting outside to determine this, we could come back to it after as well.
No, he wants me to proceed. So,
Okay.
thank you. I just wanted to make sure, and I
Please.
apologize. That was just a.
Please proceed.
Arthur Gasparo, Nantucket Engineering, along with attorney Dennis Murphy, we're here on behalf of the Greenhill family for the second public hearing on the coastal stabilization application. The application had been continued for a period of time as we worked through some matters with natural heritage. And I'll get into that following the changes, explaining the changes that we made in response to the first public hearing and comments that were made by the board. So to refresh everybody's memory on this, what we're proposing is stabilization of the coastal bank using the so-called Wilkinson array, or the same stabilized fiber roll array that you have permitted on many other locations, with a stacked 20-inch rolls and reinforced sand lifts behind them. And the purpose being to be able to plant the bank above the rolls and maintain sand cover over the rolls. There had been an aspect of the project that we originally proposed that included along the toe of the rolls, utilizing double wrapped coir sand tubes, if you would. And there had been somewhat significant concerns, I think, raised by board members. And so on that basis, while we do believe that would have helped to stabilize the tow long term, we removed that element from the design. So there are revised plans before you that no longer incorporate that. And then what is before you is much more typical of a profile for other applications around the island that have been both approved and installed. Um, the sand nourishment calculation, we included a very in-depth analysis by Dr. David Kreibel that studied this entire area and determined our annual contribution, which we would, of course, be understand conditioned upon any permit issued by the commission to provide that. We are amenable to all of the, I don't want to say typical, but same conditions that the commission has worked through on past applications of this type for monitoring and sand nourishment. Further to that, there are additional conditions that would need to be imposed on this project as a result of review by Natural Heritage. And that's part of the bit of a lengthy delay between that first hearing and today. They wanted us to provide proof or essentially licenses with the abutting property owners for the beach that we would be crossing. The access for the property would be at the existing sand ramp at the Sankaty Beach Club. And then we would proceed north there, and that would traverse the beach just with machinery to access our property. In doing so, we would be traversing the property owned by Sankaty Beach Club as well as by Mass Audubon. So we have included in the materials licenses, executed licenses with both of those parties that permit us to be able to essentially traverse the beach. We're not proposing any work on their properties. The materials for the project would remain to be delivered to the site over the top of the bank, but the machinery, we didn't want to have to create a large cut in the bank on Locust when one exists not too far to the south for essentially a ramp for them to get the machines down there. So that's part of the reason why it's taken us some time, but we did work successfully through that. And Natural Heritage did issue a conditional no take letter, and you have that. And we are, of course, amenable to the conditions that would be required by Natural Heritage to be included in the order of conditions. We are requesting a waiver on the application, which there had been some discussion at the first hearing as to whether or not it's best fits the criteria for long-term net benefit versus I think no reasonable alternative with no adverse impact. I leave that to the board, as you have discussed in the past, which we see this as a net benefit project by stabilizing the bank and providing the ongoing nourishment and being conditioned to do so. But we're open to discussion on those points, and believe we've provided the information that was needed and modified the project in a way that was expected by the commission. And with that, both Mr. Murphy and I are here should you have any additional questions or concerns.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Yes, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Art. I would say, yeah, it's good to see the project finally here after a lengthy continuance. Excuse me. Overall, I'm in support of the project. I think there's just some things that we'll go through on our own on the order of conditions, that I think would be totally fine and common sense on that we would set for, as we typically do on any projects. I guess my one lingering question is really more for staff, if they're comfortable with the monitoring, post storms, and do we feel like we have enough to work with going into the order of conditions if we vote favorably on this?
I don't want to give you a overly simple answer for a not so simple question, but I I feel pretty solid about monitoring stuff, but it goes with I'm staring at the conditions on the order of conditions here as we're talking, but uh I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the draft order for it, because I did only send them out this morning, but there's a whole lot of monitoring condition.
No, I didn't have
Going on
seen
in
email
here.
from today. I mean, Art, do you want to comment on the monitoring plan? I mean, it's going to happen mainly from people on the property, correct, at this point?
Through you, Mr. Chair. It would be a combined effort, and I would mention this is a fairly unique property where we have full-time resident caretakers who are I'm in regular contact with, and will be monitoring for cover and damage. But then at the same time, as professional land surveyors, will be responsible for the top of bank and actual surveys and plan preparation. So it would be a joint effort, but I think there's an additional layer of protection or assurance that doesn't exist on a lot of properties with those resident caretakers.
Thank you.
Other commissioners? Yes, no? Okay. Is the current sand ramp at Hoyks Hollow Road, it's my recollection that it's not on the San Kitty Beach Club property, but it's actually in the Hoyks Hollow Road layout. Is that true? If so, is Hoyks Hollow Road a public road owned by the town of Nantucket? Can we clarify on that?
So I actually designed and permitted that ramp 20 years ago, at least I would say, and it is in the road layout. And the status of that, I'm almost sure is a public road, but I would have to double check it. But I do believe it is a public road. But again, it's I think to the point of ascent, being a public road that we wouldn't actually propose and work in traversing. It would be no different than driving down Pulpus Road.
Unfortunately not sure about that, but I mean, I hate to be this guy, but if we look at what the Town of Nantucket Code, Chapter 671E says, it says that anybody wishing to use town-owned coastal property for non-governmental use for coastal protection purposes needs to get a vote from town meeting. So if the access is in the public road layout, and that's where all the material is going to be sourced from, and there's going to be potentially the impacts of that part of the beach. It's not just the road layout. If I look at the GIS, that continues all the way out to the ocean there. I hate to be that guy, but I think if you look at what the words of the code says, that's something that we need to get clarity on.
So I am just looking at some plans that I prepared for the land bank and the club about 5 years ago, and that's actually an easement. The Hoyks Hollow Road layout ends at the golf club, And then at least what I have, and maybe I shouldn't do this just on the fly, but I do have information that then shows there's a way going down there. Again, maybe we go through all your questions and we can look at it. I'm not so sure that we're necessarily, I would agree that traversing an existing way would constitute a installation of a coastal engineering structure or protection, but it sounds like we would have to get you a little more information if that's what is going to be needed there. But again, the plan I'm looking at has that as an easement area, and then I know that there's a way that runs alongside of that property to the south as well, of which it's only part way in, but we could detail that.
Yeah, I think at minimum, we would need that submitted to the commission, and we would need to know who has rights in the way or rights in the easement, because if your client doesn't have rights or the public doesn't have rights, then that area would have to be leased or licensed for the use, and then that's how the code would come into play. I hope that's not the case. I really don't want that to be the case, but it is our duty to make sure that we're following the appropriate bylaws of this.
All right, we
the
can
town.
investigate that.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions from commissioners? I'd say thank you for the change in the array design. I feel much more comfortable about it than what was previously submitted. At this point, if there are any questions from members of the public, please approach the microphone if you're physically present, or raise your hand virtually if you're on Zoom. I see none. I take it that we don't have everything we need to close.
Well, I guess if I could, just because this has continued for so long, if you might consider continuing this to the end of your other hearings, we might be able to work out the easement information for you. I've got the easements here, and I mean, I know it's somewhat unusual, but if that's the only outstanding question, Mr. Murphy and I may be able to work it out.
That's the only question I have. Yeah.
Would that be amenable to?
Yeah, we won't call it a continuance, but we can keep
Hold
this
it.
open till later, and you can try to figure it out.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you as well. Okay, so we'll move on to Town of Nantucket, Sparks Avenue roadway, SE 483980, represented by Elise Tripp. Good
Hello.
evening.
All right, I'm just going to share my screen. Hang on one moment. Okey-dokey. All right, so I'm going to assume you guys can all see my screen. I always have to ask.
Yes, do you have a
Perfect.
presentation they will be sharing with us today?
Yes, I do.
Please endeavor to make it 5 minutes or less.
Oh, absolutely. Yep, can do. All right, so my name is Elise Tripp here from Beta Group Inc. on behalf of the Town of Nantucket Planning and Land Use Services for the Sparks Avenue Side Path Improvements Project. Photo here is just a picture of a typical side path along Sparks Avenue. So the overall project consists of two segments of Sparks Avenue. It's about 2,000 linear feet. We have the one segment here that is from Williams Lane to the Nantucket Auto Body Driveway. That's about 1,500 linear feet. And then we have a second segment that is from 12 Sparks Avenue to Milestone Lane, and that's about 500 linear feet. The kind of area, the only portion of this overall project that is within the conservation jurisdiction through buffer zone is going to be over at the eastern extent, right in this kind of corner here. And one other thing I do want to point out is that at the other end of this portion of the corridor is the Nantucket High School. So the project is proposing to improve connectivity, safety, and accessibility of pedestrian infrastructure through the installation of a side path for pedestrian and bicyclist use. So existing conditions 4-foot wide bituminous sidewalks that are deteriorated, not ADA compliant, no pedestrian curb ramps, crosswalks, or bicycle infrastructure. So this photo here is actually the project where it is within buffer zone. And on the left here, we have the wetland that was delineated and is in not the most prime shape it's been in, and it is seeing some erosion. And then proposed conditions for the overall project corridor includes variable width sidewalks, 6 to 10 feet, crosswalks, pedestrian, curb ramps, etc. So the portion of the project that is within buffer zone and why we're here today is work within the 25-foot no disturb, 50-foot no structure, as well as the 100-foot buffer zone overall. So we have our portion of the delineated wetland right here, and then our 3 buffer zones extending off of that. So overall, the project is going to result in an increase in impervious area. It's going to be 204 square feet within buffer zone. We broke it down into the 0 to 25 foot. It's going to be 136, 25 to 50 is 35, and 50 to 100-foot buffer is 33. So we are requesting a waiver from the requirements of the 25-foot no disturb zone and 50-foot no structure zone standards, considering existing conditions and existing development. What we have done to minimize impact within buffer zone and to try to keep the widened side path away further from the wetlands as much as we can is reducing the path width that is right up gradient of the wetland to 6 feet, whereas in other parts of the project it is 10 feet. So we taper it from 8 feet to 6 feet. We are widening the path into the roadway footprint slightly to try to, again, keep it away from the wetlands. We will be installing erosion controls and then restoring impacted buffer zone through, loam and seed to make sure it's stable. One final thing before I say thank you is, so we have our wetland right here. There is an existing posts and rail fence that you saw in that first photo. So it will be removed during construction, but reinstalled in the same spot. So although the sidewalk will be a little bit closer to the wetland, it is not going to be, any further than the existing posts and rail fence that was in this photo right here. So it'll just end up coming right up to that fence slightly with some grading that's going to go just beyond the fence, but no work within BVW is proposed. So I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm happy to answer any questions. And thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Members of the public, any questions or comments? Okay. Will, do we have everything we need to close this application?
What timing? Yes, we do.
At least would you like to close?
I would love to.
Is there a motion to close?
So moved, Mr.
Is
Chairman.
there a second? Thank you both. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? None. That carries unanimously. And we will move on.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you as well. Next up is the Osprey Way LLC, 27 Osprey Way, SC 48 3982, represented by Brian Madden. Brian, good evening.
Good evening. For the record, Brian Madden from LEC Environmental Consultants. This project involves a septic upgrade for a failed system that is technically failed due to separation of high groundwater. The entirety of the lot is located within the 100-foot buffer zone to BVW and Coastal Bank associated with Hummock Pond. There's also flood zone that extends onto the property. We are requesting a waiver for the septic upgrade to an IA system and improvement over existing conditions. There's no work proposed within the flood zone and no proposed work within the 25-foot buffer zone. But there is work, the leach field is within the 100-foot, which is, there's no alternatives on the lot. I will say that the Board of Health, went before the Board of Health, and they did request a monitoring well to be installed, which may impact some of the design elements of the system. So we're not looking to close this evening, and we're also waiting for natural heritage as well. But just wanted to open up and see if there was any questions, and we'll be requesting a continuance.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions or comments? Members of the public, questions or comments? Brian, would you like to continue till the 16th?
Yes, please.
This will continue till July 16th.
Thank you.
Thank you as well. Next, we have Nantucket Islands Land Bank, Falmouth Avenue relocation, SC 483947, represented by Liz Phelps. Liz, good evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Liz Phelps, representing Nantucket Islands Land Bank. Also present is Rachel Freeman, the Executive Director of the Land Bank, and the Land Bank's Counsel, Peter Viteri at Barrow Law. So I'm going to hand it over to Peter to give a summary of the application. Thank you.
Good evening, Peter. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Commissioners. Peter Viteri from Vale Dana in Boston, representing the land bank. I want to just catch you up on sort of where this case is and why it's coming back before you. This NOI was originally submitted in December of 2025. Hearing was held on January 8th of 2026, and on January 14th, the Commission issued an order of conditions. And a butter appealed that under the local bylaw only. We've been in Superior Court. The grounds for the appeal were related to notice requirements of the local bylaw and submission of proof of notice being served and delivered to the Commission prior to the close of the hearing. We've made an agreement with the abutter to have a remand that portion or the local portion of this project and approval back to the Commission to reopen the hearing. We are going to be we sent out new notice to abutters who hadn't received timely notice before. We are in the process of collecting the Postal Service delivery confirmation receipts of that notice. I don't believe we have them for tonight. So we cannot close the hearing tonight, and we will have to continue to another meeting, but we wanted to appear today to open the meeting as we agreed with the abutters council. And I think as we've agreed with town council, we're going to be appearing again for the continued hearing on August 6th. At that point, at this point, I think I'll reserve comment on the project and any response to any abutter comments. I anticipate that there's going to be abutter and other public comments tonight. So we're happy to listen to those. I think I will reserve any response to those either briefly at the end today or for the August 6th meeting and potentially likely with a written submission to the Commission before that meeting. So with that, I'll conclude right now and defer back.
Thank you. For the purpose of a complete record, since this is a remand, we need somebody from your group to give a general overview as to the project purpose and elements.
Sure. Yeah, I can speak briefly on it and defer back to Liz too to fill in anything I missed. But essentially, this is a proposal to relocate a portion of a sand road that's located between Cisco Beach and the end of Falmouth Avenue. The portion of the road is located entirely on land bank property. And the road there exists a road that currently connects between the beach and Falmouth Avenue that's located in Coastal Dune. This project would move that road 50 to 100 feet back outside of the dune itself, the dune resource area itself, and it would restore the area of dune where the current road is located. So there'd be there's sort of two components to it. There's a dune restoration component to the project for the existing roadway, and then there's the construction of a new roadway further back from the shore in order to maintain the current functionality of the roadway. There will be an amendment for the NHESP conservation management permit that the land bank has already initiated and is in the process of amending. I think previously at the public hearing, and I think the commission may have added this as a condition, but one condition of the approval was to not commence any work on this project until that conservation permit had been approved. We are, of course, agreeable to that condition still. I think that about sums it up. I'll give it back to Liz to fill you in on anything that I might have missed.
I think you did a great job with that summary, but we can definitely answer questions if there are more questions about the details.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments? Yes, Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, just a question about, so tonight we're going to hear comments and questions from abutters, but we're not going to discuss them with Land Bank until next meeting. Is that,
Oh, no, we can discuss them now.
so is Land Bank going to answer questions about it tonight? I was
If
just
they-
unclear about
If they wish to.
about Peter's. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
If they wish to.
I'm
yeah.
kind of asking through you, asking Liz and Peter.
Yeah,
Liz
if I
and-
may, happy to answer any questions that the commission or members of the public have tonight. I was just noting that there's been letters and correspondence submitted to the commission. We'll have a formal response to some of the points that were raised in that we'll submit before the August meeting. But we're here tonight too to answer questions that come up tonight as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Just for reference, when members of the public comment on an application, the applicant could respond to them at the meeting, respond to them later, or they could just ignore them. It's up for us to decide what the right path of action to do. Obviously, in the spirit of being collaborative, usually people respond, but there's no requirement that anyone has to respond to public comment, except for us. So there's a few housekeeping things that we need to do here. First of all, we did receive a large number of letters from abutters and members of the neighborhood, many of which were received after the filing deadline. So please, if people are going to provide comments for future hearings, we have filing deadlines posted on our Concom website. If you go to the meeting schedule link, there's a deadline for each meeting. Please endeavor to get any comments in before that deadline, or else they won't really be considered part of the record. And secondly, this is a weird situation, but it's something that is worth talking about. So the process that happened was that the appeal, or first of all, the Concom issues orders under two separate sets of laws: the Wetlands Protection Act, which is the state act, and the Nantucket Wetlands Bylaw and its associated regulations. There's two separate appeals processes. If you have an issue with the state part of our decision, you appeal directly to DEP. That was not done in this case. If you have an issue with the local part of our regulations, you would go to Superior Court. That's what has been done in this case. But it is interesting in our sense because it requires us to only take into account things that are in the Nantucket wetlands regulations. For the purpose of this hearing, you can basically forget that the Wetlands Protection Act exists, and we're hearing this under the Nantucket wetlands regulations. In almost every case, they're similar, or the Nantucket wetlands regulations are stricter anyways. But if you have thoughts that are related to the WPA, they are not relevant for this odd hearing. This is particularly about the Nantucket Wetlands Bylaw and the Nantucket Wetlands Regulations. So, at this time, if you are a member of the public wishing to speak and you're physically present in the room, make a line at one of these microphones and we will address you. If you're on Zoom, you can raise your hand virtually. Please introduce yourself with your name, your connection to the project, and then make your comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name's Dan Bailey. I am a land use attorney with Pierce Atwood in Boston, and I represent the immediate abutter Ocean Heath, who is also the party that took the appeal in Superior Court. For starters, I just want to say that I agree with Attorney Viteri about the procedural posture that we're here with. I also agree with the chair that this is an unusual hearing in that it is just under the the local wetlands bylaw. Even the terminology, we're so used to interplaying it, but the local wetlands regs. And the primary reason it's under the local wetlands regs is because your wetlands regs are stricter than state law. And, this project does not comply with your performance standards under your local regs. So it does require waivers. We disagree with the land bank regarding the number of waivers that are required, but both sides agree that it does require waivers. And so you would have to make the necessary findings that justify a waiver. And I'll get into that in a little bit. I also want to say that with me tonight, and when I'm done, Doug Schneider from Cape and Islands Engineering is available remotely, and he'll be speaking to more of the wetland resource and technical issues. I'll do what lawyers do, which is talk about the regulations and the findings that you need to make. I also have my clients here with me, Andrew and Marina Jacobson, and who are the owners of Ocean Heath, and I know that they will want to speak when I'm done. Just, Will, do we have a site plan from the, I mean, I included a plan from, in my letter, but
Yeah, you can get it up.
yeah, that's the
Sorry, my
old
mic's
one.
off. I've got the packet up so I can scroll to
Yeah.
anything you'd like. Just share it.
The best thing would be it would be exhibit A to my letter of June 26th.
Okay. I'm
Which is
gonna
just a
look for that
Google
up
photo
in-
of the not that one.
I think he had the packet up from the other, what the land bank submitted.
It should all be a part of it. I just have
Yeah.
to find it.
Yeah,
200 pages.
well, I can start while he's
Go ahead.
finding that. Fundamentally, my client's objection here. Yeah, that's it. Beautiful. So just to set the record, I'll get it back up there. My client's property is where that red dot is, 9 Falmouth Avenue. You see Falmouth Avenue coming in from the east off of Westerwick. And you see the connection at the end of Falmouth Avenue on the west side of my client's property, going over. And this doesn't show recent improvements at Cisco Beach, but it does show pretty much the existing conditions on the ground today. And the land bank's proposal is to move that extension. I'm not going to agree that it's a road. It's never been laid out as a road. Doesn't care about the indicia of a road. But that's we won't get into that because that's a real estate lawyer issue. And I know you don't want to hear about that. But our real objection to this is that it's taking an existing sand track, which is heavily, deep sand, cannot be traveled on with anything other than a robust 4-wheel drive vehicle. I was there today. My clients will speak to this more, but it's predominantly used by pedestrians. And it's replacing it with a gravel-packed, hardened roadway, which within sensitive areas, including within 75 feet of a dune, as the commission knows, dunes are, the buffer zone to dunes is regulated as dunes. And it's going to lead to considerable increase in traffic and speed. And as a result of that, a considerable increase in the potential impacts to the wetlands. Right now, that existing sand track is really not used very much, other than by pedestrians. And so changing to something that's going to be much more intensive in use in this environmentally sensitive an area is something that we're very much opposed to. More on the merits. As I mentioned, the project does require waivers. It requires waivers because of the work that's being proposed in rare and endangered species habitat. We submit that it should also require a waiver because the road is a structure. And the type of road that they're doing here is under your rules and regs impervious, and therefore, if something's impervious, it's a structure. Again, Mr. Schneider will speak a little bit to that, but I just want to, and that this is all in my letter, but I just want to say this in particular. What your regulations say is that a structure, as defined by section 390-2, is constructed primarily of impervious surfaces, such as roads and driveways. That's a direct quote. Your regulations define an impervious surface as a man-made surface that does not allow infiltration of water into the underlying soil and excludes, very specifically, loose gravel or shell driveways. In contrast, compacted gravel or other material that impedes the infiltration of water directly into the subsurface is specifically excluded from the definition of pervious surface. What the land bank is proposing here is an 8-inch deep roadway made of compacted native stone and native hardener that, in our view, would be considered an impervious surface under your regulations. If it is an impervious surface, it's a structure, and if it's a structure, it requires waivers because it's within 75 feet of a dune, and then it's fill within a dune area. So there are a couple of waivers. Again, I spelled it out in the letter. I'll try and be as brief as I can about that. And Mr. Schneider will also speak to it a little bit. So they need waivers. There are 3 possible bases for waivers, and you know them well. At least in this case, there are 3. One is that there's no reasonable alternative. Well, as we can see from that air photo, there's already an existing public road and public access to Cisco Beach. In this particular case, there's no good reason to construct what is basically a new road to provide access. Perfectly good access already exists. And on top of the existing road, there's also a paved bike path there. That bike path specifically is authorized to be used by emergency vehicles if need be. So in our view, there are completely adequate alternatives. The land bank also argues that the proposed road provides a long-term net benefit because it moves the road further away from the coastal dune. We disagree. The benefit, there's nothing but environmental detriment here when you take a barely used road and replace it with something that is going to be used extensively within a delicate resource area. Finally, the third option in this particular case would be under your new regs. The board can approve waivers when they're in the public benefit. I don't know if you've done any of those yet, but public benefit is not defined in your regs. There are letters in the file from the fire chief and police chief that say, well, it's a public benefit if we would get there. Well, my clients wouldn't have any real problem if the road was, constructed and limited to emergency vehicle access. Not going to be opposed to emergency vehicle access, but general public access is not something we support. And then finally, again, not really an issue for this commission, but I do want it in the record that the land bank and the public do not have the right to use Westerwick or Falmouth or any of those other private roads, which are entirely private roads within a private subdivision, which the land bank's Cisco Beach property was never a part of. So that's what I have. I guess I'll turn it over to Mr. Schneider now, if that's okay with the chair.
Yes. Will, we need to bring Doug Schneider from the attendees list into the panelist list. Then we'll go to Doug, and then if the Jacobsons wish to speak, we'll go to them, and then we'll go to anyone else. Doug, please introduce yourself for the record with your name and connection to the project, and then make your comment.
Yes, good evening. Just trying to get my camera on here. Doesn't seem to be coming on.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
Apologize for that. Won't let me turn the camera on. Good evening. My name is Doug Schneider, professional civil engineer and land surveyor with Cape and Islands Engineering. We were asked to look at this project as to whether or not it complied with the Nantucket wetlands bylaw, which is outlined in my June 24th letter. my opinions on that are contained. Specifically, we looked at the design and the purpose of the proposed road surface, and if it would be considered a structure under the Nantucket wetlands bylaws. Specifically, section 390-2 in definitions defines a structure, as Attorney Bailey mentioned, is a structure is constructed primarily of impervious surfaces, which includes roads and driveways. A pervious surface is defined as including compacted gravel or other materials that impede the infiltration of water directly into the subsurface of the lot. Further, that pervious surfaces may become impervious if not properly maintained. Those are part of your definitions specifically. The proposed surface treatment being an 8-inch depth, more or less depth of gravel, compacted gravel, as listed in the notice of intent as Toscana ACPAC, does have good permeability as documented in the notice of intent. We don't contend with that. Our concern is that in this dynamic area, the surface characteristics will rapidly change. It is expected that the very fine sands from the beach and the adjacent dune areas will quickly cover and mix with the gravel surface and will change these characteristics, drainage characteristics and impervious characteristics quickly. You only have to look at an aerial photo from 2024, which is included in the packet. I had submitted this afternoon a couple of graphics that show the area with aerials, and you can see that on that graphic there, you can see two areas of ponding. This is a 2024 photograph that shows ponding in the parking lot and at the end of Falmouth Road, directly in front of number 9 Falmouth. It is our contention that the fine sands and from the beach, when compacted by vehicles traversing through this area, will change the drainage characteristics in such a way that the surface becomes pervious rather rapidly. And the evidence is right in front of you. Based on this evidence and the definitions in your bylaws, that the proposed roadway as laid out and designed should be considered impervious and thus a structure and subject to the requirements of section 398B2, which requires a structure to be at least 75 feet from a coastal dune. In the design plan, approximately 100 odd feet of the structure is within the 50 to 100 foot zone. Approximately 915 square feet of the road surface is in that 50 to 75 foot zone. And given the overall construction width of 20 feet, which is 10 feet of traveled area, 2 feet of shoulders laid out on each side, plus a 6 foot wide drainage swale that runs from the entire length from the parking lot down to the terminus of where the new surface would end, which is roughly 50, 75 feet from the end of the Falmouth Road layout. That area, there's about 2,660 square feet of alteration within the 50 to 75 foot zone. Further, section 390-8B4 only allows placement of fill within 100 feet of a dune to be used for beach or dune nourishment. The fill placed should be compatible with the native soils in the area to allow for the natural nourishment. The proposed Toscana ACPAC is comprised 50% gravel, which ranges in size from 3/16 of an inch to 2 inches in size. And this gravel would not be compatible directly with the native sands in the area as outlined in the soil mapping for the area. And we're concerned with the placement of gravel in this sensitive area. Further, section 398B-6 requires activities within 100 feet of the dune to not adversely affect the dune itself or the movement of the dune, the migration of the dune, anything to do with the dune. And we are concerned that the placing of the gravel pack will impact the ability of this dune structure to navigate northward over time. As you're well aware, this is a very dynamic area, and the reason they are relocating this road surface is because the dune and beach area has migrated northerly. If you look at historical photographs, going way back in time, this area has dramatically changed and is constantly moving northward. And our concern is that this gravel will impact the ability of the dune to continue to move northerly. Further, this project in the notice of intent states that the project is exempt from stormwater management requirements, and while it provides for a 6-foot wide swale and depressed area at the end of the sand road, there's no explanation of why they list it as being exempt. We recommend the commission require that to provide documentation as to compliance with the stormwater management requirements, and that it complies with your requirements for a structure that, the drainage swale within the 50 to 75-foot zone. And given that this represents a redevelopment project, moving the road from or the traveled surface from south, up north 100 odd feet, we would expect that the applicant should be able to demonstrate at least maximum feasible compliance with the stormwater management regulations. And we would ask the commission to have the applicant provide that. Further, as discussed, the site is also within the National Heritage Endangered Species Priority Habitat. We understand that they are working with Natural Heritage to either they have obtained or are working to obtain a permit. Given the sensitivity of this nature, we question the need for a 20 to 25-foot swath through this area. And is there an alternative to the proposed width of the construction? Is it necessary? Is there an alternative to this? Is there an alternative to this extensive alteration of this area? And I think I've said about all I'm going to say. Thank you for your time.
I'll note that Commissioner Williams has joined us. Linda, can you tell us at what time you joined the hearing?
8 minutes ago, maybe.
Okay, we'll document Commissioner Williams is joining you at 5:45 p.m. At this point, we will go to the owner of the property. If they wish to speak, please introduce yourself for the record with your name, your connection to the project, and then make your comment. Please endeavor not to be repetitive. If it's already been said by one of your representatives, we understand that it's in the record at this point.
Thank you, and good evening. My name is Andrew Jacobson, and I'm a nearby resident and a butter at 9 Falmouth Avenue. I strongly oppose the proposed relocation and reconstruction of Falmouth Avenue through the Smooth Hummocks Preserve. My concerns are based not only on the plans, but on what I and my family regularly observe as a close neighbor. We see the visible shoreline erosion. We see the standing water and runoff, the heavy pedestrian and bicycle use, the traffic conflicts, and the physical limitations of Falmouth Avenue. I also believe that the Conservation Commission should apply the same environmental safety and waiver standards consistently to every applicant. The land bank performs an important public role. We support the land bank, but that should not entitle it to a separate and less demanding standard of review. Applying different standards based on the entity of the applicant would be obviously unfair and would inevitably create adverse precedents for future projects in protected areas. The central point is simple. The proposed roadway is a hardened structure requiring waivers. It's totally unnecessary. It represents just a modest convenience for a few drivers, and it does not, justify the environmental or public safety costs. With regard to the environmental impacts, the proposed road, obviously runs through a globally rare sandplain grasslands and ecosystem containing extensively flagged sensitive plants. The land bank acknowledges that. Wildlife habitat, protected species, and the land bank, I don't think, disputes the ecological importance of the area. A graded, hardened, heavily traveled road will attract many more vehicles, heavier traffic use, and that'll create compaction, which is what Doug was just talking about, vibration, turning movements, and wear along the road and shoulders. It'll damage the nearby and visibly eroding shoreline and place additional pressures on the fragile sandplain heathland. It'll impact not only where the former roadway is, but because Falmouth Ave is narrow and it's too narrow for the kind of two-way traffic that will be attracted by this kind of improvement, when vehicles meet, they'll inevitably move onto the road edges and adjoining protected land, and they'll damage the vegetation, loosen the soil, widen the traveled corridor, and accelerate already visible erosion. There are already, as Doug was just talking about and documenting, real drainage and flooding concerns. I have personally observed substantial pooling and ponding and runoff standing along Falmouth Avenue during rainfall. The proposed road surface will become increasingly compacted with use. Changes to grading, surface composition, and topography will direct runoff, worsen ponding, accelerate erosion, and push more water toward already vulnerable areas. Before any waiver is granted, the commission should require a credible analysis of how the road will drain after years of sustained traffic, not just how the material is expected to perform when first installed. Second, the proposal will fundamentally change the character and use of Falmouth Avenue. What is now a very lightly used sand road that naturally limits both traffic and speed would become a hardened, inviting, through route between Cisco and Ladies Beach when many other routes already exist. The predictable result would be more vehicles, higher speeds, increasing use as a shortcut. That transformation would have serious consequences for both people and the environment. Falmouth Avenue is narrow, heavily used by pedestrians, cyclists, families, children, and beachgoers. There is no meaningful separation between vehicles and pedestrians. Faster and heavier traffic would increase the risk of a serious accident. If you're claiming a public benefit, you have to take that into account. Because the road cannot safely accommodate substantial two-way traffic, vehicles would also be forced onto the road edges and adjoining protected land. Again, that would widen the corridor, damage vegetation, fragile soils, accelerate erosion, and impact the already visibly retreating shoreline. The commission should evaluate this relocation as the relocation of an existing sand path, should not evaluate this is just a limited use, this is converting a limited use sand road into a higher speed thoroughfare in a fragile coastal ecosystem with heavy pedestrian use. With regard to the use of Falmouth Road as a credible emergency access route, I can speak to this personally. This is a very narrow sand road entered from Westerwick through a sharp 90-degree turn. During construction, there's been some construction in the area, in the neighborhood. I've personally observed that fire trucks absolutely avoid entering Falmouth Ave. Never seen a first responder, a safety vehicle go down Falmouth Ave. It's just not passable for that kind of traffic. And so this is not, the claim that there's an emergency use is honestly a pretext. As was mentioned, as Dan mentioned, we wouldn't object to emergency use, but that's not how this is going to be used. It's just not wide enough. It's not capable of accommodating large vehicles, and it's too congested. It does not meet a practical test as an access. There are already two other accesses. There's the main public road and then the paved bike path. The lifeguards already use all-terrain vehicles and travel along the beach. So the claimed public benefit therefore appears little more than a modest incremental convenience for some drivers when their multiple alternative uses already provide convenient access between Cisco and Ladies Beach. So there's already public access. against that limited convenience or substantial public harms, erosion, damage to rare habitat, flooding, runoff risk, increased traffic, speeds, danger to pedestrians and children, danger to cyclists, avoiding the precedent for building hardened structures through protected conservation areas. There's also an unresolved question, which Dan alluded to, which I'll just mention, which is the fundamental question of the land bank's right to use Falmouth Avenue, which is a private road serving the abutting properties such as ours. Proceeding with this project when those rights remain contested, and they are contested, would add further uncertainty. So in conclusion, this proposal is unnecessary, environmentally harmful, unsuitable as a meaningful emergency access, and dangerous from a public safety perspective. It does not meet the standards that should apply equally to every applicant. This is not a minor adjustment to an existing path. It's a hardened structure requiring waivers, and it's wholly unnecessary given the multiple existing routes. The practical effect would be to convert a lightly used sand road or sand path into a high-speed thoroughfare that would expose pedestrians and cyclists to greater danger while increasing traffic, soil compaction, runoff, erosion, disturbance of protected sandplain habitat. There's no significant public benefit, and there's a substantial public and environmental cost. The commission should not relax its standards simply because the applicant is the land bank. Doing so would weaken the integrity of the commission's regulations, create an unfair double standard, and establish an adverse precedent that future applicants could invoke to justify additional roads, widening and hardening within sensitive conservation areas. The proper standard should be genuine necessity, avoidance of environmental harm, and protection of public safety. This proposal does not meet that standard, and I respectfully urge the Conservation Commission to deny the requested waivers and reject the proposed relocation and reconstruction of the Falmouth Avenue extension. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take additional public comment, but before we do so, I think there's been a fundamental misunderstanding about what this project actually is. So let's lay out some things that might help clarify what the project is and what's in our purview for members of the public. Despite the name that's on our agenda and despite the name that's on the land bank's application, Falmouth Avenue actually has nothing to do with this project. This is not a relocation of Falmouth Avenue. This is a relocation of you call it access path, extension, parking lot, whatever you want to call it, to Falmouth Avenue. That is entirely on the land bank's property and not on Falmouth Avenue at all. There, as has been mentioned, there's some lack of legal clarity about whether the land bank or any members of the public have rights in Falmouth Avenue. That's not our concern. If abutters or neighbors want to play that out in court, put up a lock gate and play it out in court. That's really not within our concern. Anything that happens in Falmouth Avenue as a result of this project, is not within our jurisdiction. And I hate to say that because I know a lot of the comments in the record and going to be here tonight are about access and vehicle traffic and speeding, etc. But respectfully, that's not our purview for this project. Our job is to figure out, is moving the access path, access road, whatever you want to call it, from its current location that's been significantly eroded and is basically close to not existing at this point, further to the north, so that future whatever you want to do there could be retained. But if we're concerned about vehicle traffic or safety or anything, it's really not within our purview. So Will, did you have something else to say?
Not to topic jump or anything, but I just wanted to remind you, since we never ever use it, since we typically only have a couple of public comments, but we do have the 3-minute timer available and ready to go.
Thank you. So I will say at this point, if you want to make a public comment, again, line up by one of the microphones. please endeavor not to be repetitive. If somebody before you said the exact same thing you want to say and you want your name to be on record, just come up to the mic and say, my name is X, I live at X. I agree with the previous speaker. And especially because this is going to continue, you'll have plenty of time to submit written testimony to the record. So if people start to be repetitive, start to go over 3 minutes, we are going to cut you off. At this point, please introduce yourself for the record with your name, any connection you have to the project, and make your comment.
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Chairman and fellow commissioners. My name's Bill Jennings. I have a quick question just before I give comment. Is common sense not part of the responsibility of the commissioner, or?
It is not.
It
It is real. It's not.
Okay.
Our jurisdiction is very specific. It's
Okay.
to figure out if projects as designs meet the words and regulations of the Wetlands
And there's
Protection.
no safety standards whatsoever to what those projects are?
No.
Okay, because I just want to be clear, the idea that this is a road or an avenue or anything remotely of consideration to that is completely absurd. Pick your favorite path. Tim, focus here, buddy. Pick your favorite path to the beach that you guys like to take your bike down or walk down. That's what this path is. It's literally from here to that wall. And that's all it is. And for someone that's been going to Cisco for 45 years, and my property abuts the longest portion of this road. So, you know, to your recommendations earlier, I'm going to take that under serious advisement for the land bank. And I've got to imagine, Peter, have you been to this road before? Have you set eyes on this or set foot on this path before?
You're not required to answer that if you don't want to.
I'm just curious. Have you seen this in person?
No, I haven't, but the land bank is familiar with it.
I'm curious, Elizabeth, have you been down there recently? I apologize.
I'm familiar with the property, yes.
Thank
Okay,
you. And I would just
I
say-
highly doubt anybody that's remote or here has been down this path, because I just want to say, as someone that's been there for about 18 years, the only people that go down this path of any consequence, Mr. Chairman, are surfers and young teenagers who are doing anywhere between 30 to 60 miles an hour as a joyride on a 15 mile an hour path, which shouldn't even have a miles per hour associated with it. And there are people that are walking from the public beach down to access other parts of the beach, like Ladies Beach, who are literally sometimes getting blown over. I've personally have gone and followed people for their own safety to pull over a young kid or, you know, someone that's visiting and say, hey, look, for your own safety, knock it off because you're going to kill somebody. So the idea that the land bank is this tone deaf to want to put a raceway in what we're calling an avenue, which is effectively a walking path right now.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Because the sand is coming off the
It's
beach
time to finish.
is a travesty. I beg for some common sense.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please introduce yourself with your name and connection to the project and make a comment. Do not be repetitive.
Got it. Hello, thank you very much for the opportunity this evening to be here for the hearing. My name is Tamra Lota, and our family lives on Fairhaven Avenue. We're about 6 parcels north of the access, the sandy path that's being discussed tonight. I think first up, the lack of transparency surrounding this is very different from how the land bank has interacted with the neighborhood in the past. When it's come to reciting the parking lot and other things, they've been very collaborative. There are so many parcels in this neighborhood where the land bank and the neighbors work together to manage dead pine trees and all kinds of other issues. So I want to thank the land bank for their collaboration on those points and ask them to please reconsider their approach here. I'm not sure what they're trying to accomplish by citing this ingress egress, reciting I don't want to call it Falmouth Avenue, but the road that's not a road, that's the sandy path. And it's something where I agree with everything that's been said, particularly that we want to be sure in the neighborhood that this does not turn into a raceway or an on-ramp to an active thoroughfare. It's a very pedestrian heavily used path. And the folks in the neighborhood range from, toddlers to folks who are in their 90s. And
We've heard about the access and the roadway. If you have anything related to the Wetlands Protection Acts and the resources and the habitat, we'll hear that. Otherwise, we've heard this already.
no, regrettably, because of the lack of notice given to abutters for this, there wasn't time to really delve in and prepare to have comments on that.
You will have time because it will be continued.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you as well. Anyone else?
Hello, I'm Brendan Swords. I am also in a butter, been there for 25 years, so I can see this access path. I do want to put in the record that the Cisco Beach Neighborhood Association is against it. All the neighbors are against it. And I would like to just add a comment about public safety, that there are these letters in there that say, the police and the fire chief say seconds matter. We want a second path, and it's very clear if you go out to the neighborhood that the second path is to take the paved roadway of Heller Road with emergency vehicle and take the paved bike path down to the beach. If Hummock Pond was ever closed off, that would be the fastest way to get to the beach. So I think that's a red herring and it doesn't hold water.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room wish to comment? Will, can you bring Dan Sparks from the attendees to the panelists?
Should be coming over.
Mr. Sparks, identify yourself with your name and any connection to the project, and then make your comment. Please do not be repetitive.
All right, thank you. My name is Dan Sparks. I am a property owner very close to where this topic is going on. I've been there for around 15 years. I missed a little bit of the beginning, but my concern is the safety issue. I don't think it can be stressed enough. And the idea that we're going to enhance safety for rescue people at the expense of what is a very dangerous road already, and having significantly increased vehicle traffic and speed there, to me, to hear the committee say that common sense and safety are not important to their decision, I don't understand how that can be possible. And I would just encourage people to really understand what this is and what the impact is going to be. The fact that they're going to have to get waivers because they don't have all the rights to do what they're saying they want to do, that allows people to use judgment. And I would encourage the committee to use judgment on this, because everyone in the neighborhood is concerned about safety. Many people in the neighborhood are concerned about the environment. And, the damage that can happen here is I think people are underestimating it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't want it to make it seem like I don't care about safety, because I certainly do. I think independent of the assertions that were made prior to the heavy erosion at this access path, I was probably one of the #1 drivers of this access path. Do I have a big four-wheel drive SUV? Yep. But it was a pleasant, leisurely thing to do. Recently, not so much because of how precarious it is, but I think it doesn't really matter within our context about who's using the road, because again, this project's not about the road. If you have questions or concerns about safety, we can't deal with them at this commission. You should address those important issues to the parts of town government that can do something. town administration, the select board, and our traffic safety advisory committee or board, whatever it is. Those are the people who can possibly answer your concerns. Maybe the traffic safety can't because it's a private road, but at least they have some purview over that area. We don't have any purview over people driving fast in roads. You want to address the people that can handle it. It's those entities or police and fire or whoever it may be. But we're not here to figure out what's happening in Falmouth Avenue. We're here to figure out if the changing of the location from the path to a more northerly area meets the performance standards. I personally agree with what Attorney Bailey has said, that this would be considered a pervious structure or impervious structure, so it wouldn't meet the performance standards. And then if it doesn't meet the performance standards, can the waivers be applied? That's it. We're looking at that small little section and evaluating just that. This is why people hate government. But our role is, we don't have any jurisdiction over roads. We don't have any jurisdiction over speeding. We don't have any jurisdiction over safety. And if we tried to claim that we did, we would be acting against the interests of this commission, and we would be doing a disservice to this community. So we can only regulate with the regulations we have. And unfortunately, I know it's painful to hear that, but we have to base our decision on what's on the property and what's being proposed in the application. Go ahead. Yep, sure.
You know, I just want to make the point that in being there as long as I have, I've reached out to the land bank on several times for them to even replace their broken split rails. And I don't even get an acknowledgement of the request. I've personally gone down to the hardware store myself, bought the wood, bought the rails, dug the posts myself and put them in. They don't even acknowledge trying to replace in the neighborhood a split rail on their property. So how are we going to trust them to maintain a new structure, a road with all the different environmental and beach, conditions that we have to deal with? I just put that on the commission.
Let's make clear not to
Please
make
take that into
accusations here.
consideration because they don't even maintain the fence.
Yeah, let's be clear not to make accusations. We trust any applicant that receives an order of conditions to follow the order of conditions in the same way. If it's written in the order of conditions, it's legally binding. And if they don't do what this says, then they're subject to an enforcement order by this commission. We have heard, I think, almost 4,000 applications in the history of this commission. Has every single one of those applicants followed their order of conditions to the letter? No, unfortunately, sometimes we have had to do enforcements. But this commission takes compliance and violations seriously. And if something were to occur, we would enforce it appropriately. So at this point, do any other members of the public have a comment?
Well,
Do any commissioners have?
can you describe how you justify the waivers required? What goes into your evaluation of approving waivers when they're not
We haven't discussed that yet.
Well, is it safety, the environment, the impact on residents?
Yeah, so if you look at the Nantucket Wetlands regulations, there's 3 waivers that are possibly pertinent to this project. One is a acknowledgement that the project will have no adverse impacts, no reasonable alternatives.
Well, hopefully you're
second
hearing
one that
it will from the stakeholders.
Excuse me, you're asking me a question. Let me finish my answer. The second pertinent waiver requirement is that the project will have a long-term net benefit to the resource area, provided that any adverse impacts are carefully mitigated through conditions. And the third potentially relevant waiver requirement in this case would be a new one that came into the regulations when they were updated, and it's part of the regulatory update that came into place on January 1st, 2025. It's that projects that have significant public benefit, significant is important, can be waived provided that that adverse impacts are mitigated to the highest extent possible. It's up to the commission to look at everything that's been submitted in the record, the applicant's application, their testimony, the public comment, the commissioner's comment, and it's up to us to decide, do any of these waivers apply? If so, why? And then when we go through the order of conditions process, we would specifically lay out why they apply. We would add that waiver, and we would add conditions that make granting that waiver a possibility. So far, nobody at this commission has said whether they think these waivers should or should not be granted at this point. But that would be our job. Well, first, it's our job to decide, can the project meet the performance standards? And if not, can it be waived? We have yet to do that here. So we're still taking the comments from everybody, but that's what we would do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sparks. Yep, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. Just very briefly, the points are all well taken, but this comment about speed has an environmental consequence, because I know you're environmental.
Mm-hmm.
The more speed, the more traffic, the more compaction, the more this becomes a surface over time, the more environmental impacts, the more erosions. So there is a direct connection here that's in the purview of the commission, and the speed is relevant in that sense because it impacts compaction, and it also speaks to your, waivers, because the public benefit has to be weighed against the public cost, and so there is a balance there that may not meet this, the threshold. So thank you for the
Thank you. Thank you. And I do agree with you to an extent, but it would only be the vehicle impacts on the new access path that are being proposed. Right now, if someone wants to drive 100 miles down any of these roads in the neighborhood, that's their prerogative. Will the police probably come and give them a ticket or arrest them? I hope so. But we can't add conditions on anything that's outside of the project. They're not submitting a project to do changes to Falmouth Road. They're submitting a project for a very limited purpose, and our conditions can only relate to that area. So, for instance, like if we thought that there was a possibility that that path would get widened over time because of people driving outside of the marked area, we could have a condition that says there needed to be split rail fencing or permanent markers along the side of the road layout so that it's physically impossible for that path to expand. We could have any number of conditions related to what they're actually presenting us, but we don't have any authority to condition anything in the actual Falmouth Road. And if we did, it would be arbitrary and capricious. So we can only condition what's actually in front of us here, which I know is it's not what people want to hear, and it's never good when I have to say that, but we yes are an environmental body, but we're a regulatory permit review body. We review what's in front of us, not what is potentially going to cause issues in some other area. So thank you. Yeah, you have to approach the microphone though, and you have to introduce yourself for the record.
Hi, I'm Janice Jennings at 2 Marion Ave. My question for you is, since this current permit would fail your current statutes and requirements. You would have to give it a waiver. So in other words, it doesn't meet the current laws and statutes. You would have to, as a committee, say, go above and beyond to give it dispensation. So by the way that the law is written now, it doesn't meet it.
Well, my personal opinion is no, but this is not a dictatorship. This is
Right.
a democratic board. So we as a commission would have to define that it doesn't meet the performance standards. And then if we found that, then it would need to be waived. But we have not found that one way or the other yet.
Okay, so why would they need waivers if it meets your requirements?
If it meets the requirements, they wouldn't need any waivers. If we find that it doesn't meet the requirements, they would need waivers. But just for reference, prior to this going to court and going through the remand process, this commission found that it needed waivers. So it's likely that we're going to also again find that
But
it
it
needs
doesn't
waivers.
meet your current requirements.
Yes.
You need to give it special dispensation.
Yes. And I mean, it's also even in the section of our agenda that it says waiver required. I think if you ask the land bank, do you think waivers are required? They would probably say, we even think waivers are required. But that's why we're here, to figure out whether the waivers are reasonable to grant or not.
Mhm.
In general, we have a lot of projects that waivers are required.
Okay, thank you.
As I think Attorney Bailey said earlier in this hearing, Nantucket has one of the most stringent wetlands regulations, bylaw and regulations out of any of the municipalities in the state.
Thank goodness, that's what makes it so special.
Thank you. Anybody else? Peter, it's my understanding from your earlier testimony that you would like to continue until August, is that correct?
Yes, I can address some comments really quickly with the understanding, of course, that I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
submit
ahead.
something in more detail, addressing in more detail, but I mean, regarding the performance standards, I think much of the ones that Mr. Bailey discussed will turn on the question of whether this is a structure or not. The land bank's position is that because they're using a permeable material, and we've introduced an analysis of permeability with the notice of intent. Don Bracken is available to discuss the permeability testing and the permeability of the material. We believe that it because of its permeability, it does not qualify as a structure. At the last hearing, we also noted that the commission can include a condition that the land bank maintain the road so that it continues to meet permeability standards over time. And we're still amenable to that type of condition. I believe this roadway is also going to be constructed the same way as the current roadway is constructed. So I think Mr. Bracken can also speak to that. I think I want to also emphasize that there is, in the net benefit analysis, there's a dune restoration component to this project as well. It's, part of the relocation of the road is where the old roadway is, there's going to be restored dune. So that incorporates itself a long-term benefit for the resource area. That also encapsulates a public benefit in terms of protection against erosion from a restored dune, in addition to the public safety benefits that the police chief and the fire chief have said they find to be significant and worthwhile about the project. The private road right access, again, not something that the commission should be concerned about, a private legal matter between the parties. And again, no work is being proposed on Falmouth Avenue itself. I'll note the photographs, going back to the ponding questions that was brought up, those photographs in that exhibit showed ponding in the Cisco Beach parking lot and on Falmouth Avenue, no ponding on the roadway. So the issue of permeability, I guess currently, there seem to be no issues, at least from that photograph, and as proposed in the road composition, there shouldn't be any issues of permeability as well. Regarding the stormwater requirements, I believe because this is a remand hearing that's only for review under the Nantucket bylaws, that the commission is precluded from considering stormwater conditions because there's no provision of the Nantucket bylaws that's more stringent on stormwater management standards than the State Wetlands Act. The commission's already issued an order of conditions under the state act that is controlling right now on the commission. So the question of stormwater management, I submit, is not relevant now because it would be essentially preempted by the state act. And no appeal was taken of that part of the order of conditions. That's all I want to address briefly at this time. Again, I reserve the right to submit a supplemental filing to address the performance standard issues and other issues raised by the abutters in more detail. Mr. Bracken, I believe, if he wishes to speak, he could speak to more about the road composition and the permeability if the commission wishes to hear.
Don, good evening, if you wish to speak.
Yes. Yeah, good evening. I just have a couple of points to make. I'm sure we'll probably be providing more information or answer more questions at the next meeting. I just wanted to make everyone aware when we had the soil samples tested, they were tested for permeability under the compacted conditions. So even after it's compacted, it will have a high permeability rate. I disagree with Mr. Schneider on the wind-blown sand effects and how that would impact or increase the impermeability of the roadway. He is correct when he said that this would be a redevelopment project if we were required to meet the stormwater management standards, which we don't feel we are, because it's a pervious roadway. In our opinion, we're not finding a need to collect from a paved area and treat it to meet the stormwater requirements. We did provide drainage that we feel is appropriate for this type of road without causing more disruption than would be needed. And the last thing I would like to say is when Mr. Schneider pointed out on figure 1 of his report, the ponding areas that he had shown, well, that would be typical anywhere because those are the low points. That's where the water collects. That's where eventually all the fines wash to and make it practically impervious, and hence you'll have those puddles that he was showing. The roadway is designed much differently than that. There are no low points in the roadway. The roadway is pitched to go in a vegetated swale that will, whatever runoff leaves the roadway into the swale, which would have to be an excessive storm to happen, would be collected and infiltrated in the swale. So in short, I think that this is obviously a common type of design that we would normally see on Nantucket and try to limit the amount of disturbance required, to drain a roadway of this type.
Thank you. I think there's a few things that we need to do to clarify. So first, in relation to the stormwater management standards, it's clear that if they applied at some point, they no longer do because, as Peter correctly said, it's more of a Wetlands Protection Act thing than under our regulations. The other thing is that actually, I should have caught this before, but we have this listed on our agenda as SC 48, 39, 47, but really we actually need to assign an NAN number to this. I think it's 143 that we're up to. SC 48, 39, 47 has been said multiple times, was issued, was unappealed, and has become final. So anything that's in that part of the order, everybody is held to. This commission, abutters, the land bank, anybody. Again, we're reviewing the local regulations only. So, anyone have any final comments to add before we move to a continuance? Yes, Mike.
Just because there's so much public here and we're moderately flattered, nobody ever comes to our meetings. But on the waiver question, anybody can ask for any type of waiver. It doesn't mean we're going to give it to them but I just wanted to clarify that just a little bit more, that anybody can ask for any type of waiver and we just have to discuss it as we go through. So thank you. And thank you everybody for coming.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you as well. And I would just say too, when we say performance standards, it's standard with the S. It's not one standard. There's a bunch of resource areas. And on this site, we have several. And, there's talk about the coastal dune and whether the road meets the permeability or not. But there's also endangered species habitat here, and there are potentially performance standards that wouldn't be able to be met in that resource area. So if you're looking for some very exciting July 4th beach reading on Nantucket Conservation Commission website, click the link for Approved Wetlands Regulation, Chapter 390, Wetlands Protection, 59 pages. You can read through the whole thing and look at all the standards. And those are the things that if people have comments on, we're able to actually handle within this commission. Anybody else? Final comments? Okay. Peter, you would like to continue to August. We need to continue to a date certain. Our meetings for August are as follows: August 6th and August 20th.
Yeah, August 6th, please.
Okay. This will continue until August 6th. We'll see you all then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you're a member of the public before you leave, I'll help you out here, but the filing deadline for information and comments for our August 6th hearing is July 31st at noon. So please send anything that you wish to make in the record by that date to the Natural Resources Department office. If it's after that date, it will not be included in the record. Thank you all.
Super quick note. This time we did not follow that rule, so everything that was submitted is a part of the record.
Thank you.
But for next time.
For next time, though.
Can I ask a question about that? If we submit a question, does that mean it will be answered or we'll get something back? I tried to do that. I didn't, I'm worried maybe I don't understand what.
It may or may not be answered. You just submit it and then it becomes part of the record. And then if we find it relevant, we'll bring it up in the hearing, or if we don't find it relevant, we'll not. So thank you all. We'll move on now to Nantucket Conservation Foundation, South Pastures. I see 483981, represented by Coleman Miller. Coleman, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Coleman Miller, Project Manager for the Nantucket Conservation Foundation. Here tonight discussing an NOI in the South Pastures area, specifically Tupshu Valley, for an invasive species removal project of common reed or Phragmites australis. Similar project to a lot of different areas that we've, and the land bank as well, have managed Phragmites in the past. This 0.22 acre spot is actually an area that we have treated before, and we had a former NOI, it was SE 482482, that was issued a certificate of compliance. And in the conditions for that, spot treatment as needed was included, but given the regrowth in this area and the attention the Conservation Foundation has placed on the two other areas that were included in that initial NOI, we've decided to come back to resubmit an application to manage this area of Phragmites with herbicide. One improvement upon the former NOI is that we'll be doing a mid-season cut during the growing season of the Phragmites to get more targeted application of herbicide as a foliar spray to this small Phragmites population, reducing risk to other wetland vegetation in this area. It should be noted that the population is entirely within the wetland resource area mapped as shallow marsh, meadow, or fen by the Massachusetts DEP. That is mainly what we're hoping to cover today. This is all on NCF land. You can see in the map, it is that small red patch there located within the bog. Spent a lot of time there myself, and over the past year, I've watched the Phragmites start to spread. So we're hoping to achieve a net benefit by managing this population as soon as possible, restoring it to the native vegetation that is associated in the rest of this bog and fen area. But happy to answer any questions. I would like to note we are still waiting on a response from Heritage for approval So we'll not be able to close tonight.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Okay, any members of the public wishing to make a comment? Seeing not, yes, Will.
I'm gonna ask a question. What's
Yeah.
the proper pronunciation of
Tube shoe.
Tube shoe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't ask me how to spell
Tube Shoe
it.
Valley.
Spell it.
Yeah.
TOUPSHUE.
Exactly.
Okay.
Cool.
Coleman, would you like to continue till July 16th?
Yes, I would.
This will continue till July 16th.
Cool. Thank you all for your patience and consideration. Have a great night.
Thank you as well. We don't have any amended orders of conditions for tonight. We'll move on to the sorry, we need to go back to Robert F. Greenhill Revocable Trust at 16 Hoyks Hollow Road, SC 483917, for the purpose of figuring out the access path. So go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. Dennis Murphy from Hill Law in Boston. It's good to be back on Nantucket. I did look at section 67-1E, which speaks about leasing or licensing town-owned coastal land for erosion control protection purposes. So we do have a license from the beach club, which we've submitted. That's in your packet for tonight. As Art indicated, there's also a publicly recorded easement that the beach club has given access to the same right-of-way for all purposes. And I did submit that to Will, so it is part of the file, but it says, and this was recorded in 2002, Art did the plan, an easement for public use to pass, repass, and use for all purposes for which public ways are now or may be used in the future. So in my opinion, the easement is not covered by section 67. It's a publicly recorded easement for the benefit of any member of the public. And just to be really clear, the only thing that the ramp is going to be used for is to bring machines onto and off the beach. All of the materials are going to go through private property. So with that understanding, I hope that the commission has everything it needs. And I would certainly accept a condition that we would have to satisfy whatever legal requirements are to provide access through the ramp.
Thank you. I think my concerns have been satisfied given what the easement text says. I appreciate you looking into it, but we need to be clear that, if it's a easement where all members of the public have rights to do anything, then they have rights to do anything. If not, we need to check. So I'm satisfied. If everyone else is, I think we could move to close as long as we have everything we need to close, Will.
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Make sure I have them.
Would you like to close?
Yes. Did you have anything further on? No, please close. And thank you very much for everyone's attention.
Thank you. We need a motion to close.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you both. We need to go to roll call vote now. Linda Williams,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Planowski.
Aye.
Tim Breen.
Aye.
Seth Ingleberg, aye. That carries unanimously. So now we'll move on to our public meeting. Orders of conditions. We'll begin with 240 Pulpus LLC, which Tim, you have to not sit on.
Okay.
But now that Linda's here, we should be all set. So we'll send these out and can get it up on the screen and give us an overview.
All right, so we are starting off with 240 Pulpus.
Yes.
Hold on, let me just resize Windows.
I can't see it, just so you know.
Hold, please.
There it
All
is.
right. Oh, hold on, guys. The Zoom share bar likes to get in the way of anything happening. I know Linda can't see what's happening right now, but
I can see the top part of it.
there we go.
So I'm all right.
That was way too difficult just to get rid of the PDF. All right, 240 Pulpus. So we have this order permits the proposed relocation of an existing dwelling, installation of additions, decking, a pool, garage reconstruction, driveway reconfiguration, and mitigation planting at 240 Pulpus Road within land subject to coastal storm flowage in buffer zones, 2 bordering vegetated wetlands, salt marsh, and coastal bank. Waivers required for this project. No NHESP. Condition 18 and 19. And then starting at 20 are pool conditions. So these are our standard pool conditions. I won't read out our normal ones, but 20 for draining and discharging. 23 is our contact info for the pool company. Now at 24, it gets a little different. So the commission finds that given the proximity to wetland resource areas and the site's topography, the pool must be drained for the season by November 1st. To ensure this condition is followed, this permit order has been conditioned to require an annual report containing the date of pool draining, amount of water drained in gallons, and proof of delivery to the wastewater treatment facility. 25, given the topography of the site and proximity to resource areas, pool draining that needs to take place shall be pumped to a truck and disposed of properly at the wastewater treatment plant. 26, applicant shall provide an annual report to commission staff that all drained pool water has been pumped to a truck and delivered to the wastewater treatment facility. The report shall include the date of pool draining, contact information for the pool company or contractor responsible for draining the pool, the number of gallons drained, and proof of delivery to the Nantucket wastewater treatment facility. This report will be due by November 30th of each year. If this report is not submitted annually, the project will be deemed a failure and will be subject to enforcement action, including but not limited to fines or other monetary penalties and revocation of this order. 27, all lighting shall be in compliance with Chapter 102. 28, no FERT or other ag chemicals are allowed in commission jurisdiction. 29, all plantings and seedings shall be native species with no cultivars allowed. 30, for project area shows less than 50% regrowth of native species within the first 2 years and 6 months. The applicant shall file a new notice or amendment for supplementing the area with native plantings and or seedings. 31, monitoring report, including photographs of the replanted area pre and post planting, shall be submitted to commission staff on a yearly basis. 32, all monitoring reports are required annually by the anniversary of this order's issuance until a COC is issued or this order expires. And our waiver. So waiver is required to 390-10B5 and 390-15B1 to allow restoration activities within the 25-foot buffer to coastal bank and within land subject to coastal storm flowage, and structural work within the 50-foot buffer to a coastal bank. Commission finds this project as proposed will serve as a long-term net benefit to the resource areas through buffer zone restoration, permit conditions, and project design. For this project to meet the waiver criteria, all conditions set forth must be strictly followed. Therefore, the commission grants a waiver under 390-3H3C of the Nantucket Wetlands Regulations.
So we had a significant discussion about the pool and the pool conditions. Linda, I see your hand. Do you wish to make a comment, question, or addition to the order?
Can we go back to 27?
Yes.
26.
No, lighting.
Oh, yep.
The only thing I wanted to talk about there, I understand, the lumens and all that crap. Because of where it's located, it's not just the lumens that are an issue. It's the direction of the lights that is an issue. So I didn't know if there's some more of a way to beef up that 27 to all lights shall be directed away from the wetlands, because that's not really in Chapter 102. That's just basically lights, flight in your neighbor's yard, all that kind of stuff. But this is all wetland right there.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if we should add something about lights going the other direction.
Sure. Prior to chapter 102 being enacted, we used to say that all lighting should be directed away from resource areas. So we could say all lighting shall be directed away from resource areas and be in compliance.
Yeah, that's, I remember that language, but we haven't done it for a while. We've gone right to this one.
And I think I may have, through you, Seth, I think I may have mistakenly thought that that was all included in 102. So
No, it's not,
We'll
not for
that'll
our
be our
purposes.
standard going forward.
So it says from resource areas and be in compliance. And in number 24, I think we're missing the apostrophe for sites. It's one site. Apostrophe S. There you go. Any other questions or comments? Does this satisfy? We had a long discussion about pool conditions. Does it satisfy everyone's?
Yeah, I think 26 is. I think
Okay.
26 is pretty strong.
And if we don't get that report, then we're going to issue an enforcement.
I believe Brian's present and
Yep.
understands the.
Yes. Okay. So we need a motion to approve the order of conditions as amended.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. By roll call vote, Linda Williams,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Plendowski.
Aye.
Seth Engelberg, aye. That carries unanimously among those sitting. This has been approved. We'll move on to the next one. This is Robert F. Greenhill Revocable Trust, 16 Hoyks Hollow Road, SC 483917. We'll also send this and we'll get it up on the screen for us. And Tim can join us.
Welcome back, Tim. All right. 16 Hoyks Hollow.
Yeah, right to there too.
I'm going to share it. There's a significant amount of reading for me to do. So I'm sorry in
You can
advance.
pass over the permit overview and that just typical stuff. You can just talk about the specific conditions that. Okay.
So our additional findings, I mean, if you want this,
Yeah.
this is kind of our standard slew of additional findings that go on.
Yeah, so basically for coastal protection projects, we've had all these findings indicating, what the resource areas and the protected interests are, and why they're significant to the protection. So that basically says that for all of the resource areas. And then you should read number 10, 11, and 12.
Yeah. All right. So the rest of that, additional finding 10, the commission recognizes that the coastal bank is unstable and subject to collapse and or erosion due to wave action, overland stormwater erosion and or groundwater flow and discharge. 11, the commission recognizes the coastal bank to exist in a highly dynamic coastal environment and to be comprised of mixed glacial till material with locally perched groundwater. 12, the commission finds that this specific makeup, configuration of materials, its proposed rate of breakdown, and the focus on natural vegetation is a bioengineered option and is not a coastal engineering structure. Excuse me. And I just confused myself because we have it doesn't start at 18.
Yeah, it's number 1 and 2 or what, 18 and.
These are our normal, everything needs to be in accordance with the site work and plan. So number 3, detailed as-built plan stamped by a licensed engineer survey is required to be filed with the commission upon completion of initial construction. The survey shall include the entire project area. 4, this is for Survey plans to be submitted to the commission twice a year and post-storm events, with storm events being defined as a period of sustained winds in excess of 40 miles an hour for a period of 6 hours to show from the top of the bank to the beach/bank interface landward of the tow and then extending to mean low water. This survey shall include the entire project area. Reports submitted to the commission showing the amount of sand delivered to the project area and to which project area it was delivered. Number
Do we
5.
have something about when the reports are delivered by? Is that later or is that need to be here?
Great question. Let's see. Just think it might be at the end, but
Uh, yeah.
this
There,
is
number
the
20. Okay.
yeah,
All right, back up to the regularly scheduled program.
which was number 5. Number 5. So this is just for the number 5 is for the contact information for all participants of the project as well as all contractors. Applicant shall locate the bottom of bank and observed high water mark outside the project area. All data from the areas outside of the project shall be used as control sites for the purposes of analyzing project data. These transects shall be located every 300 feet from the ends of the project area and extend 900 feet from the ends of the project area. The plan depicting this information shall include the mean high water mark.
That's the monitoring.
What's that?
That's the monitoring that
For number 6? Yes.
okay.
Sorry, I'm getting confused. It
They're
happens
gonna
easily.
do transects 900 feet from each end of the project area. You're not fine with it, but
This is from, so this condition is copied from,
a different order.
yeah, but I'm drawing a blank on that. I shouldn't mention the specific anyway, but
It's fine, but
it's,
yeah, that seems
this is what we have been issuing these permits with.
that seems excessive.
It
to
seems
me.
excessive, but it's
Seems really excessive. We're talking about doing thousands of linear feet of monitoring if we ask for that.
and that's obviously we can make any changes or edits to this.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at what's in that line, but Mr. Gasparo, would you answer a question? Can you come to the mic though? Can you let us know what the linear distance of the proposed array is?
Yes, I would need just a second on that.
Okay.
And then while I look at that, to the question of going beyond it, I would say a couple 100 feet would be reasonable.
Not 900, not 900.
I do have that number.
I drafted this last August.
That's fine.
900 feet is the project length.
Yeah, I mean, although I appreciate expansive data collection, we're gonna ask them to do twice the amount of monitoring as the length of this project. That seems excessive to me. I would say if we say like, I mean, I would be willing to say a couple 100 feet, or if we want to say it's 900 feet, we want to get the impacts of it on both sides. You could say 450 feet on each side, but that even seems excessive to me. So, commissioners, what do you think is reasonable here?
200 feet each side is fine.
200 feet.
And
then we need to figure out these transects because it doesn't make any sense.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going. So if they extend 200 feet from the ends of the project area, the way it was written originally, it was transect shall be located every 300 feet from the ends of the project area and extend 900. So should we be doing?
So the project the project area is 900 feet.
Right.
And we have 400 extra feet of monitoring. So that's 1100 feet. I would say having, what, a transect every 100 feet is fine. So let's just say that there's 11 transects that they monitor. Or I don't know if you want 200 feet, that's fine too. But I think we have to balance the need for data collection with being unreasonable. But we could just say transect should be cited at every X fee, and then they can cite them there. Commissioners, what do you think?
I'll go along with that easily.
Every 100 feet?
Yeah.
Okay. These transects shall be located at every 100 feet from one end of the project to the other.
And we just, yeah.
And then they can cite them in the field in the way that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
I was just trying to see
Yeah,
if there's a way
that's
to make it
fine.
sound.
When you say shall locate, I mean, it's really, we want them to survey locate it, right? I can locate it, but I'm not gonna claim to be a professional engineer.
There'll be survey located every 100 feet from the start of the
And the
project.
top two, the applicant shall survey locate the bottom of the bank and okay. Does that fix that condition?
All right, that seems like it makes sense to me if it makes sense to you all.
Yes.
All right. Condition 7, shall I move on?
Mhm.
All right. Prior to the start of work, the mean high water line shall be staked and shall serve as the limit of work throughout the project. No work or travel by machine is allowed seaward of the MHW line under this order. 8, all structural materials such as core logs, posts, and anchors shall be marked for identification. Distinguishing marks shall include tagging of plastic and branding of wood or metal. 9, the applicant shall be responsible for retrieving any and all materials stored, dislodged, or washed off the site for the life of the project. 10, applicant shall get a written sign off from the beach manager on a biweekly basis from April 1st to September 15th to use vehicles on the beach. The sign off will serve to confirm the presence or absence of any protected species within the project area or route of travel to and from the project area. 11, no machinery or materials are to be stored on the beach. 12, the core logs shall be kept in good repair, and if they are damaged, they shall be repaired and notice provided to the commission of the repair. The core logs shall be kept in good repair so long as they are aiding in the establishment of a plant community. Once vegetation is established, the replacement of core logs in that area is prohibited. 13, if
Okay,
less
hold
than,
on.
yeah, wait, is this?
That's good, but because it's the Wilkinson array that they're trying to plant, but we need notice of repair within a specific
I
time.
was gonna say there's no. Do we want to say
30 days?
30 days? So provide notice.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question on number
Yes.
10? Who is the beach manager? Is that somebody appointed on the property or?
It's a representative from the Natural Resources Department office.
Okay.
It's usually
I
Jeff
think it's
Carlson.
technically Jeff. I think it is Jeff because the state officially designated him as such.
Okay.
30 days of the damage or of the repair?
We want, we want the repair to be done within 30 days of the damage occurring. And then we could say, yeah, so put the 30 days. It should say the core legs should be kept in good repair, and if they are damaged, they shall be repaired within 30 days of the damage occurring.
How does that, just to talk it through, if, I mean, they have restrictions of when they can and cannot work that.
Yep. So I'm gonna tell you the next sentence after you writes that. Sorry, I should have just said it, but
So core lock shall be kept in good repair if they are damaged. They shall within 30 days of the damage occurring, right?
Yes.
To be clear, right? Okay.
and then you should say, should this be infeasible, a letter shall be submitted to the commission indicating why damage or why repair is unfeasible within that timeline, and presenting a plan for the repair.
So
Indicating why repairs were not feasible and laying out the plan for repair.
say like repair.
Yes.
All right, should repair in the 30-day window. Oh, yep, that, gotta change that real quick. I said should repair in the 30-day window is not feasible.
There you go.
All right, should repair in the 30-day window not be feasible, a letter shall be submitted to the commission indicating why repairs were not feasible and laying out a repair plan. Core logs shall be kept in good repair so long as they are aiding in the establishment of a plant community. Once vegetation is established, the replacement of core logs in that area is prohibited. 13, if less than 75% of the plantings are living plants at the end of the growing season, the applicant shall come before the commission for what remedial action is needed to return the structure into compliance. 14, if the coastal bank does not see 75% of the plant community surviving after 3 years, the project is deemed a failure. Should this occur, the applicant shall file a new notice of intent to modify the existing project or permit its removal. 15, the project will be deemed a failure if 33% of project materials, excluding nourishment sand, require replacement within 2 years of installation. Failure to provide nourishment materials as outlined, or delinquency of required monitoring reports. Should any of these failure criteria occur, the applicant shall file a new notice of intent to modify the existing project or permit its removal. 16, nourishment is required to be maintained to the volume specified in the plan of record and provided narratives. All nourishment sands are to be bank compatible sand as determined by grain size, angularity, and wet mud cell color. All nourishment materials should be tested for percentage of fine sediment. This is a standard condition, guys, and it's a lot of words. I'm going to skip that. 17, georeference photographs of the project area required quarterly, and in addition, georeference photographs shall be required to be submitted demonstrating the condition of the entire project area within 7 days of each storm event. 18, should the monitoring report show an adverse impact to surrounding properties, an adverse impact to the project area, or the narrowing of the beach to where the mean high water mark is contacting the base of the project, the applicant shall appear before the commission to discuss the proper action to take to mitigate the condition, including but not limited to the removal of the structure, repair of the structure, or revision to the nourishment program. 19, the applicant will be required to provide the biannual reporting for 1 year post removal of the structure to demonstrate any impacts from the structure to the remaining coastal beach or bank. 20, all monitoring reports are due by the anniversary of this order's issuance. And the waiver Waiver is required to 390-10B3 that projects may not have an adverse effect on bank height, stability, wildlife habitat, vegetation, scenic views, or use of the bank as a sediment source. The commission finds that the project as designed will serve a long-term net benefit to the resource area with no expected additional adverse impacts. Therefore, the commission grants a waiver under 393H3C of the Nantucket Wetland Regulations.
Okay, let's talk about a couple things. First is in 18.
You said 19.
18.
18. Sorry.
So one of our protected interests is lateral access along the shoreline. And in other projects, we've decided that there needs to be a specific beach width that provides appropriate access. And in this project, we're just saying essentially the appropriate beach width is 0 feet. It would be the condition as laid out here is the water is actually touching the array. So I don't think that would be a suitable condition to provide appropriate access. I think we need to have a dry beach area that has a specific feet associated with it that would provide access.
So I'll just make a recommendation, and I want to say, for SBPF, did we discuss 20
We
feet?
said 15 feet, I think.
15? So 15 would be reasonable.
Everyone okay with that?
No,
So
I think when we talked about it before with SBPF, I think we said, because then it became up, what happens if there's a storm event and you got nothing for a while? How many days can it not be accessible because of bad inclement weather? So we got to go back to where we came with SBPF and not reinvent the wheel.
yeah, thanks, Linda. So that's going to be the next issue here. So right now it reads if it's ever 15 feet away from the base of the project, it's in failure. In the other permit, we talked about it being surveyed in that condition for more than 2 consecutive quarterly surveys. Happy to just say the same thing again if people are okay with that.
Fine by me.
So they're going to
Yeah,
be
I'm
submitting
yeah.
quarterly monitoring reports, and we should say in the quarterly monitoring report, the lateral distance. Maybe we'll just make a new condition, but or I don't, however you want to do it, but yeah, okay. I guess in 18 we'll say the mean high water mark is 15 feet from the base of the project for 2 consecutive quarterly monitoring reports. And then in the thing that talks about the quarterly monitoring reports, we need to add a thing that part of the quarterly monitoring report needs to be a measurement of the lateral distance between the mean high water and the project.
Right.
For 2 consecutive
quarterly reports.
We'll just read that over super quick. Or the narrowing of the beach to where the mean high water mark is 15 feet or less from the base of the project for 2 consecutive quarterly reports. I guess does it make more sense if I say if to where the mean high water mark is shown 15 feet or less from the base of the project for 2 consecutive quarterly reports?
I think it's fine how it is.
Fine like that, all right.
And then after that, I would just say, after reports, where that comma is, I would say, this project will be considered in failure.
So consecutive quarterly reports.
And then I would say, in the event of a project failure, the applicant shall appear before the commission to discuss the proper action to take to mitigate the failure.
In the event of a project failure, the applicant shall appear before the commission to discuss the proper action to take to mitigate the failure, including but not limited to removal of structure, blah, 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 blah. All right.
We good with that?
Yep.
Okay, and then I have a comment about the waiver criteria. I'm strongly against using the long-term net benefit waiver, and I think in this case, we should use the no adverse impact, no reasonable alternatives.
I think that's more appropriate. Mr. Chairman, I have a comment on number 15.
Okay, yeah, we'll figure that out now. We'll
You
go
can go ahead.
go to
to the
15, yeah.
15.
I'm just wondering how we arrived at 33%. Let me just,
Yeah.
if the project will deem a failure if 33% of the project materials.
It's been a standard condition for Kawar arrays for the past 10 years.
I just had something that stuck in my head about it was like 50% when DEP weighed in on something. I'm fine with 30.
If you want to be 50%, this is what the commission is here for. We're not bound to what the commission said in the past, but
Mhm.
basically the discussion was, if they have to replace at least a third of the project, then it's not really working. It's not the right installation for the location or what have you, but that's what the discussion was at the time. But
I think I'm fine with it, and I just was more curious how we arrived on that because I had the 50% DEP failure number stuck in my head.
yeah. Will not cause additional adverse impacts to the resource area and that there are no reasonable alternatives. Okay. At this point, does anybody have any other comments, questions, or additions to this order? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the order of conditions as amended?
So moved, Mr.
moved.
Chairman.
Second.
Thank you, Linda. We'll take you for the second by roll call vote. Linda Williams,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Bill Pandowski,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelberg, aye. That carries unanimously.
I just have to say Will did a great job on this. This is, we haven't seen one of these for a while.
Yes,
I
thank
did it a
you.
while ago.
Okay, now 10 Nantucket Sparks Avenue roadway, SC 483980. Will can get this up and he sent it out and we'll talk about it as well.
All right. And we're gonna have to ignore the autocorrect because Microsoft Word does not believe in the word side path, but I'm using it because they used it.
That's okay. It's a real word. You can add it to your dictionary if you
Too many steps.
right click through that.
And I missed the discussion on this one, so I'm going to recuse from this.
Okay. Let me note that super quick before I
Okay.
And I think it's adjacent to one of my projects anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll say you're not sitting on this.
Yeah.
It's not a
It's not
recusal,
sitting.
but
Yep,
Yep.
that's fine. All right, Sparks Ave roadway. This order permits the proposed variable width side path installation at the southwestern end of Sparks Avenue within buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. waiver is required for this project as proposed. No NHESP, condition 18 and 19. Condition 20, that all plantings and seedings are to be native species with no cultivars. 21, no FERT or other agricultural chemicals are allowed within commission jurisdiction. Our waiver, waivers are requested for 390-18B3 for work within the no disturb buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The commission finds that there is no reasonable alternative for the project to proceed and there are no additional adverse impacts expected. Therefore, the commission grants a waiver under section 393H3A of the Nantucket Wetland Protection Regulations.
Questions, comments, or additions? My only thought is I think there actually are additional adverse impacts and we should waiver this under the significant public benefit waiver.
We definitely can easily do that.
You know, they're asking to add a couple 100 feet of impervious surface within the 0 to 50-foot area. But clearly the purpose for public access is outweigh that, but we should use that waiver.
I'm assuming the commission agrees with Seth's statement, right?
Y'all agree with
But
that?
I can't change it just based off one man.
That's
you know,
my thought, but
I
it is a horrible sidewalk. Side path. Yeah.
I like that because you're not just walking.
Multi-use path.
So long change is 3. So that's just reworded to the commission finds that the project will serve a significant public benefit. Therefore, the commission grants a waiver under section 393H3E of the Nantucket Wetland Protection Regulations.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the order as amended?
Yes.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, because Linda's not sitting, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? That carries with all commissioners sitting in the affirmative and Commissioner Williams not sitting. Thank you. And now we'll move on to request for determination of applicability, but I'm going to recuse from that. So Linda, you can chair this if you're able.
Okay. Where are we? At the town of Nantucket, Pulpus Harbor now.
We are at Clark, 193 Eel Point Road. It is a request for determination of applicability, and you get to ask the commission if they would like to open the RDA or if any members of public would like to open the RDA. And if not, I'll give you my recommendation.
Okay, does anybody on the board want to open it? Okay, I don't see any. Is there anybody in the public that'd like to talk about this one? I don't see
Thank you.
that, so go for it.
All right. I guess I should open up my notepad that says what the code is, but 193 Eel Point, I was recommending a positive 2A. This was just a resource area delineation confirmation. Positive 2A is that the resource area delineation depicted on the submitted plan is confirmed as accurate and therefore binding to future decisions made by this commission or future commissions. That's it.
Any other comment from anybody? Somebody want to make, do we close the public hearing on this one or do we just make a motion?
I make a motion to issue with the positive 2A.
Positive 2A. Is that a motion by?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, I believe that was Tim. I couldn't hear him.
Yes.
Okay, all
Yes,
those in
Tim,
favor,
second.
Mike,
Aye.
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
and myself. Thank you. Fearless leader, come back.
Thank you, Linda. So we don't have any minor modifications today. We have several certificates of compliance. Here's what we'll do. Do any of these have ongoing conditions?
Yes.
Please indicate which ones by reading their DEP file number and the conditions that they need to have continued.
All right. So
And I have to recuse from Passiani.
Okay, so hold on, don't do it yet. So does anyone have to recuse from anything else? So let's do number 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then we'll do number 2 separately.
3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, cool. So that actually might even make this even easier because that might be the only one I had. Nope, I lied. All right. So, I have one of these with continuing conditions, but I'm going to go in order. 30 Dukes Road, no continuing conditions, recommending issuance of the certificate of compliance. Then we have, and I'm sorry, I didn't give you the DEP number.
SC 48.
48 3312 for
Okay.
30 Dukes Road. Then we'll move on to 73 Hulbert, the first one, which is SE 48 1532. This one is substantial compliance and no continuing conditions. There was part of the project was never done, but it's going to be a partial cert, substantial compliance. Then 2314 will be no work was ever done. So this is a invalid order, but issue, same process. Just giving you a quick rundown. And then 3117, same as the last one, same address. Again, invalid order, no work was done. And then the final one, which was SE 48 3684, recommending issuing the certificate of compliance and continuing condition 20, 21, 22, 23, and those will be our pool conditions. And then condition 24 for all exterior lighting to be directed away from the resource area and in compliance with chapter 102 of the code of the town of Nantucket. So in 2023, we were using, but that's it.
Any comments or questions from commissioners? Is there a motion to issue the 5 certificates of compliance for SE 48 3312, SE 48 1532, SE 48 2314, SE 48 3179, and SE 48 3684, which has ongoing conditions that Will has read into the record? Is there a motion to issue those certs?
So moved,
So
Mr.
moved.
Chairman.
Second.
Thank you. Linda, will you second? By roll call vote, Linda Williams,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Joe Pendelsky, Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Ungerberg, aye. That carries unanimously. So now we'll go to Pasanante at 48 Long Pond Drive, SC 48 3898 with Commissioner Williams recused.
All right. 41 Long Pond, recommending issuance of this COC. There were two ongoing conditions with issuance, which will be number 20, all exterior lighting shall be directed away from the resource area and in compliance with chapter 102 of the code of the town of Nantucket. And 22, that no agricultural chemicals or fertilizer shall be used in areas within commission jurisdiction.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Is there a motion to issue the certificate of compliance with the ongoing conditions that Will has read?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Joe. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. And
Aye.
abstain or not against? No. So that carries unanimously with Commissioner Williams recused. We have no extension requests tonight. We'll move to the other business. We have one set of minutes to approve from June 18th, 2026. Any comments or questions related to these minutes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes as drafted?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there a
Second.
second?
Mr. Chairman.
I'll take Joe. By roll call vote, Linda Williams,
Aye.
Mike Miserelli,
Aye.
Joe Pandowski, Tim Brain.
Aye.
Seth Engelberg, aye. That carries unanimously. No monitoring reports. As always, if you have questions on them, direct them to Will. Committee reports. Our Coastal Resiliency Advisory Committee.
No report, just a reminder that the State of the Harbor conference is on July 14th at Great Harbor Yacht Club and should be worth going to.
Thank you. I recommend
Run
attending.
that by me again. I wrote it down before, but it's July when?
14th at 4:30, Great Harbor Yacht Club.
Oh, best field day.
It is.
You
We've had a long meeting, so I hate you with my quick trivia, but there are more Independence Days in July than in any other month of the year. And it's not for the reason you expect. It's because it was easier to engage in Revolutionary musket age battles in the summer than the winter. And that's it.
Oh, what
Okay.
a piece of esoterica we have here.
Our CPC representative is not here. Nantucket Planning and Economic Development Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I didn't actually attend that meeting, but Jesse Bell, who's present in the room tonight, was appointed to the at-large seat. So congratulations, Jesse. Leslie Snell's contract was approved and basically just went over transportation plan stuff from Mike Burns.
Great, thank you. Harbor Plan Update Committee.
We're waiting.
I think I've been off the committee for longer than I was on the committee at this point. Hopefully we get a final decision soon. Jesse was also on that committee too. Okay, we will move on to enforcement actions and potential enforcement actions. The Baxter Road geotubes has been continued till July 16th. We have 2 listed on our agenda, but before we get to those, Will, are there any new and emerging issues to come before your desk?
No, sir.
That is what we like to hear. So we have 2 listed properties, but it's really one kind of combined issue. Those are 21R Manicure Road and 16 Meadow Lane. This is, we've had several hearings about these properties before. Will, do you have a specific update for us, or are we going to the representatives from each party?
I think we could go right to the representatives.
Okay, please introduce yourself for the record with your name, your connection to the project, and then make a comment.
All right, thank you very much. Attorney Arthur Reed, representing Peter McHugh, owner of the property at 16 Meadow Lane through 16 Meadow Lane LLC. I was brought into the situation here since the last time you discussed this, and we've also engaged Art Gasparo and Brian Madden to work with us on it in order to determine the situation and advise us as to what action should be taken. I would suggest, obviously, that these 2 matters be discussed together because it's really all the same thing. And my client was responsible for doing the work, which results in this order. This was done approximately 10 years ago. And it only came to his attention recently that there was a problem with it. He didn't realize there was a wetlands issue involved, or that there was encroachment on the adjacent property, which is part of the issue as well. We have reviewed the matter. We've reviewed the plan that Paul Santos prepared for the property owner next door, which also included recommendations as to plantings and work to be done in order to remediate all the work that was done within commission jurisdiction. And basically, we agree with all of that. We agree with Paul's recommendations of plants. I'm not sure whether you have the colored version of that, Will, that shows specific areas to be planted with specific species. But Art and Brian and I have looked at that and reviewed it with our client, and we're in agreement that that's an appropriate way of handling planting the area that had been disturbed with indigenous species. There's also a question that's been raised regarding a wall that was placed on the property. It's not really a retaining wall. It was more placed there in connection with planting beds that were put on the property. And we would like to keep it. We think that it would be probably more injurious to the surrounding area and more disruptive to the surrounding area to pull it out of there than to leave it in place. Obviously, we will do whatever work on this property with regard to the remediation of this situation that the commission determines is appropriate. Again, we would prefer to keep the retaining wall in place, do the plantings that Paul has suggested, and comply with whatever order you issue.
Thank you. Would anyone else from representing your client wish to speak, or should we go to the other group of abutters here? Go ahead.
Yeah, again, for the record, Dan Bailey from Pierce Atwood. I'm representing Marcia Head, who's the owner of 21R Nantucket. And we don't have really anything different to say than what Arthur just said.
Okay, thank you.
My client, by the way, is here tonight. If you have, he is here and understands the situation and is willing to cooperate, as I indicated, in resolving this matter in accordance with the commission's determination.
Okay. Commissioners, thoughts, questions, comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would say if both parties agree, I think I'm comfortable with that and would look forward to moving it along and getting the work remediated as soon as possible.
We, by the way, would suggest that we would start the work September 1st. Right now, there are tenants in the property, and it would be more difficult to deal with it right now. And I think that probably the end of the summer is going to be a better time to do the work anyway.
Other commissioners? So, I mean, I had brought the issue about the retaining walls up to this commission about how those also, maybe that history of violation is significantly older than the unpermitted cutting, but it still exists. And those walls are in an area that, under our current regulations, we certainly would not have permitted. And even under the pre-existing regulations, probably would not have permitted some of it. I understand that, it's there, it's going to require effort to get rid of, but we've heard a lot of different things. We've heard from Attorney Reed, it's not really a retaining wall, it's used for the planting. We've heard it is a retaining wall, it's keeping up the bank there. I had asked at a point in the prior hearings that a engineering analysis be delivered to this commission on, what those walls are, what the materials are, what the hardener is, how deep they go, what their function is. And we've gotten small segments of that, but we've never really gotten a report that says, here's exactly what they are, here's exactly what the expected removal procedure would look like. We can't just say we think it's going to be more impact because we think that. We need to know really what would the removal constitute, what would the restoration area constitute if it could be removed but then stabilized and planted with native species. That's a huge long-term net benefit. And the pros and cons, kind of the risks of each method. And I keep asking for this, and it hasn't really been submitted. So Would anyone like to respond?
I would think we certainly could produce an engineering analysis. I would ask Art to address that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I also just was brought in and didn't know that that had been asked for before, and took perhaps an overly simplistic, view of this, in that, pre-existing walls at that distance, while they're within the 50-foot buffer zone, given that size and distance, I think that, without a full analysis, it's rather reasonable to determine that planting around them would be less disruptive to the slope stabilization, likely without impact to protected interests, right? Like the walls, but again, if you wanted
Yeah.
me not just saying that, but built out more,
I mean, I do want to build
take
out
on it.
more, because I think we need to think about what the short-term impact is and what the long-term health of this ecosystem is. And yes, obviously, having to take machinery, I mean, it's been alluded to the commission by Mr. Santos before, that this is not just like a dry packed brick wall or something that's mortared and supported in the ground. And I hear that all, but so yes, I mean, I understand it's probably going to take some type of machinery or tools to get in there and get it out. And after that, you're going to have a area that is potentially unstable. But we need to think about what the long term benefit of getting these elements out, which are causing currently impacts to the resource areas. They're changing the flow. They're potentially causing wildlife impacts. There's probably some more protected interests I can go and figure out that they would have some impacts on. But if it's going to cause a temporary construction impact, but then we could have this natural slope be we be great or protected and graded and planted in a way that's going to add more benefit to the buffer zones and resource areas. We should do that. We shouldn't just say, oh, it's going to be hard to get rid of this wall. The wall's from 10 plus years ago that nobody knew about it, so we don't care. Our job is to make sure that we get maximum protection for the area. So I would like to see the analysis done. Okay. Linda, go ahead.
Well, I think you covered it for me, because that was one of my sticking points, is that I wanted to know the construction of the wall. Because if it's on concrete footings and it's got rebar into the bank, et cetera, we asked for that twice. You asked for it, I asked for it, and I Paul was going to get that information, and we really don't have a report as to the impact of trying to remove something depending on how it was constructed. So I for my own peace of mind, I'd still like to have that. Not that I'm in favor of removing the walls, but I want that information, and we've asked for it.
Yeah, thank you. And Mr. Santos, I'll go to you in a second, but like if it was going to be a different project, a construction project, you lay out what the temporary impacts are, what the permanent impacts are. And I would expect to see the same thing here, what the potential methodology would be, et cetera. So go ahead.
Okay, thank you. For the record, Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors. Just so, I mean, the record is clear. I think the commission was a full turnout. They've seen the walls. These are, just to reiterate, without the absence of a full engineering report, these are two terraced landscape walls. They're stone and mortar. There is a, albeit limited, there is a concrete footing under each one of them. Whether or not they contain rebar or not, I suspect they probably do not. But they are, not dried laid. There's some water, there's stone, and there is a smaller concrete footing under each one of them. So
thank you. We appreciate that. I think also what we're trying to see too is like an analysis of, okay, if they were removed, would it actually be feasible to stabilize that bank? Would it be feasible to replant it? Or is there going to have to be huge amounts of grading and fill and things like that? And you know, again, I have my personal opinions. I'm sure other people do, but without that there, we can't evaluate. We can't just say because it's easier, it's the better thing to do. We have to evaluate what's the better thing to do for the resource area. So please provide that. Anything else? Okay, so we do need to, I guess, continue that to get this report. When would be a reasonable time to have this report done by us?
Can we do it for the next meeting?
We'll give it our best shot. I'll let
Okay.
you know before then.
Okay. Our next meeting is on July 16th. These two properties will continue till July 16th.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any commissioners' comments?
I thought you, yes, I do. I thought you handled that Falmouth Road thing very well. It wasn't that easy. There's a lot of emotions going around and a lot of facts that had to be laid out for those neighbors. And I thought you did an excellent job.
I
you.
agree.
Thank you.
Agreed.
I agree also.
Thank you.
For real.
Happy semi-quincentennial America's 250th anniversary. Hope you all enjoy your celebrations in a safe and lively way. Will, do you have any staff reports?
I'm just gonna ditto that.
Okay.
Happy 250th America Day.
All right.
Thank you guys for a well-run meeting, and also Seth, yes.
All right.
Well done. And
Is there-
apologies for not having the timer up immediately.
Oh, you're good. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Chair.
Thank
Second.
you, Mike and Linda, for the second by roll call vote. Linda Williams,
Aye.
Mike Miserelli,
Aye.
Joe Planowski,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engberg, aye. That carries unanimously. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
I'm gonna try and get my
Okay, yeah. Sweet.